What's the lay of the land, my son? What's the lay of the land, my son?
(1976 to 2018) were the active years for The Fall, who were a band from Manchester. They were fronted by Mark E. Smith and critically acclaimed. They had many lineup changes, with Mark being the constant, and they created 31 studio albums during this time. Hi, my name's Dan, and this is a review of The Wonderful and Frightening World of The Fall by The Fall, which was released in 1984 and was their seventh studio album. It's my first time listening to this album, but I've reviewed two of theirs before on this channel, and those two reviews did not go well for The Fall. They got scores in the 5, and I upset at least one viewer by not loving it, I remember, at the time. So just, I don't know why I feel the need to do this, particularly on this one, but the reason for the thing that I'm doing is I'm reviewing through this big list of the 3,000 greatest albums of all time. I didn't create the list. A website called Acclaimed Music did, and they've done it by amalgamating lists from a lot of critics across all time. And I'm working my way through. And so this is how, when I talk about, I'm coming across this, and I've done a couple before, it's because I'm working through this list, and I'm now working upwards. Okay. So my response to The Fall was better this time. If you look at the score, you'll notice that. Is that me that's changing? And I know that this process of doing these reviews and going through this list is having an effect on the way I view music, well, listen to music. Certainly my knowledge is increasing quite a lot, but very kind of thin and broadly spread, I'd say. Or is my better response to this because my previous two reviews were of albums 1 and 2 from them, and this is album 7. So they've had time to maybe get better, get into their craft. Don't know. I really couldn't tell you. So let's try and do some description. So it's kind of twangy, punky stuff, verging at times on, I've written, nightmare rockabilly down here. I'm not sure I'm the only person who's had that thought. I think I seem to remember that from some of the critics as well. Post-punk is what's described as by both Acclaimed Music, where this list is from, and Wikipedia, which is one of my big sources of information. And I feel more secure about knowing what punk is than what post-punk is, and I'm not sure where the line is between them. I think just because it's 1984, it's got to be is later than the punk explosion. So even if it was very punk, it would be labelled as post-punk, I think. However, I don't think it is kind of core punk. It's just it. I mean, it isn't quite as energetic. It is quite raw and ragged around the edges, and I'll dip into that a bit in a minute. But it's also at times somewhat experimental, or I'm not sure they're kind of deliberately doing experiments as just being unusual. Okay. It definitely still has a "we don't care about the norms of produced music" feel to it, which is, I think, probably one of their big selling points. Although, so kind of general attitude and feel is something that obviously is what sets them apart from other people. So, harking back to one of those previous reviews, I actually had a bit of a moment of realization through the fact that I had a bit of a to and fro with one of the viewers. I'm always up for people disagreeing with me. Please don't think that that's not the case. I like contrary points of view. I like being challenged in what I do. But I think it was at this point that something went click, which is that sometimes the very reasons why I dislike something are the reasons why somebody else loves it. And that was a revelation that's been really helpful for me. Anyway, not that I hated this. Okay. So back to this album. Yes, sometimes stuff's not in time with each other. They are generally in tune. Actually, very much in tune. They're often, most often, in the same key. Sometimes you get a couple of instruments playing and it feels like they're in different keys. Most songs are based around a riff or a repetitive pattern, so there's quite a lot of this kind of almost trance-like repetition stuff going on. And often this is a bass line, and the bass is quite a dominant instrument, quite a twangy, high top, uh, toppy bass sound. It's the kind of sound at times that could either be made for by playing on the high strings on the bass or playing on the low strings on the guitar, using the same kind of processing. Sometimes apparently there are two bassists, and apparently there are two drummers. I think most of the time. There's also twangy guitars. The word twangy definitely is one that I want to, if I've got one word I can use to describe it, twangy is going to be the one. There's occasional keyboards, and in fact, I noticed was it on here? No, different album. Sorry, yeah, occasional keyboards. I noticed kind of little twiddly bits. Yeah, some of the tracks are almost what you might think of as being normal kind of poppy rocky stuff. Stephen's song and Disney's Dream debased, I would say, kind of feel a bit more intentional and produced. Weirdly, I actually felt slightly disappointed by those tracks because it didn't really fit as well in this kind of chaos that the rest of the album has. Some tracks, like I'm gonna mention Bug Day, is more experimental in feel and has this kind of it's kind of thrown together is not the right word, just different in its constitution. Um, Often there's more than one singer. Sometimes it feels like two, sometimes three or four, um, and not all in perfectly in time with each other. So it's giving it a kind of sing along feel to it, kind of group singing feel, which adds to this kind of feeling of sort of liveness and chaosity, something. So I assume that the dominant voice in the ones where there is a dominant voice is Marquis Smith, who was the leader of the band. Um, and at times I felt like his delivery was very, or kind of Lou Reed like, kind of sing talking and laconic, but definitely his own style as well. But there was kind of very much this kind of yeah, kind of delivery. I'm not doing it justice. The songs are about, well, mostly I picked this up from reading because it's actually hard to pick out quite a lot of the words, apart from the points where they're doing, repetition over and over again. So, Lay of the Land, I could pick up the words in that when there's a very repeated bit in it. So apparently Elvis is about newcomers to the music industry. Disney's Dream Debased is about a disaster at a theme park. Craigness is about a one-eyed downstairs neighbor. The rest, I don't really know, but it's all kind of got this weirdness and darkness to it. So, as I was saying before, I don't really know why my response has been different to earlier stuff. I think earlier stuff was less in tune, and that has can give me problems. Um, so this album, I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it, and it has a certain kind of something, and I think that something is kind of style of its own that is definitely something that I can understand why people would engage with. I wouldn't say it's necessarily something I would go, oh yes, this is brilliant, I love it. Obviously, I haven't, but I haven't hated it either. So let's see. There may be more of the fall on this list, and maybe my opinion will keep improving as we go along. But only time will tell. But this is just my opinion. And as always, I'd love to know what your opinion is. So please really let me know that by leaving me a comment. Like I said, I'm very happy when people disagree with me on stuff. And especially if you absolutely love this album and I didn't respond to it the way that you do, I'd love to know why. Or I'd love to know why you respond to it differently. You can't really tell me why I responded to it differently, unless it's just that you think I'm an idiot. But that'll do for now. So that's it from me for now.
Bug Day. Bug Day. Midges. Bitches hope